What if desire wasn't a request but a recognition? What if that quiet longing you've carried wasn't asking for something to come, but revealing something that's already present, already alive in the unseen fabric of your life? Feel this for a moment, not as theory, but as truth vibrating inside your own chest. The moment a true desire is born, it is not random. It is not an accident. And it is not a wish cast into a distant universe hoping to be heard. According to Neville Goddard, when you feel the impulse of a desire, it means the thing you desire already exists. Not somewhere far away, but in the dimension of being where all things are already complete. Your desire is not a request. It's the signal of spiritual conception, a silent confirmation that you have already received. But most people miss this. They confuse wanting with waiting. They carry their dreams like unanswered prayers instead of accepted gifts. And that's where suffering begins. Because when you desire from urgency, you unknowingly send a message to your subconscious. I don't have it. You begin to live not from fulfillment, but from lack. And lack repeats itself. You walk through your days trying to earn what you were meant to embody, trying to negotiate what was never meant to be negotiated. You think your desire is something to achieve, when it's actually something you're being asked to remember. You don't have to earn your desire, you just have to live from it. Modern neuroscience echoes this ancient wisdom. Dr. Joe Dispenza's work shows us that the body doesn't wait for the future to feel the future. Through emotional rehearsal, your brain and nervous system can be conditioned into a new reality before anything changes outside. That means every time you feel the wish fulfilled, you're not pretending, you're programming. You're not imagining to escape life. You're imagining to install a new one. So the real work is not effort. It's embodiment. It's living from the end. Not because the end is far away, but because the end already lives in you. Think of it this way. When you receive a confirmation email after placing an order, you don't keep ordering the same thing over and over. You trust it's on the way. You don't stalk the delivery truck. You simply prepare the space. You make room for what's coming because you know it's already been sent. Desire is the same. It's not the shopping cart. It's the receipt. The only question is, will you act like it's already yours? Will you walk into your day as someone who has already received? Feel into this. Let it rearrange something inside you. This isn't about trying harder, it's about relaxing into truth. The truth that if you can desire it, you've already touched it in consciousness. That touch is enough. Now the rest is alignment. Not hustle, not proof, not permission, just alignment. You don't have to prove your worth to receive what was planted in your soul. You just have to let the seed grow, quietly, confidently, naturally, because desire is not asking you to go chase something. It's asking you to remember that it's already here. Now breathe. Let that truth settle. This is where we begin. There's a silent belief that many carry without ever questioning it. A belief that if you desire something, it must mean you don't have it yet. That wanting is proof of distance, not connection. And so we desire with desperation. We long with urgency. We visualize while secretly reinforcing the feeling. It's not here. It's not mine. But that belief, so subtle, so buried, creates the very delay we're trying to dissolve. You begin to tell your subconscious that the more you want it, the more you lack it. And that's not desire. That's disconnection. Neville Goddard taught that true desire is a sign you've already received the seed of your fulfillment in consciousness. But if your inner dialogue continues to repeat, I need this, I'm waiting for this, then no matter how much you visualize, the signal being broadcast is still lack. This is what the law of reversed effort reveals. The harder you try to manifest from a place of need, the more you push the desire away, because your state is rooted in separation. And the universe doesn't respond to words, it responds to states. If you embody the state of having, more will come. If you embody the state of wanting, the desire will stay outside, always one step ahead. But this isn't your fault. It's how most of us were trained, to chase goals, to prove our worth, to earn what we were always meant to become. And yet, deep inside, you know, the truth of your desire is not found in the chasing. It's found in the knowing. The quiet knowing that if something calls to you deeply, it's not an illusion. It's an instruction from your higher self, a call to remember who you already are. So instead of saying, I want to be abundant, you begin to declare, abundance expresses through me now. Instead of whispering, I wish I could live with purpose. You claim, my life moves in purpose already. This isn't fantasy. This is frequency. You are not the beggar of your vision. You are its embodiment. You are not a spark trying to find fire. You are the match. And that flame you've been searching for? It's already inside you, waiting for your permission to burn. Let this shift something in you. From now on, when you notice a desire arise, don't shrink from it. Don't turn it into a signal of lack. Let it be your proof. Let it be the sign that it's already growing in your field. The only thing left is to believe it enough to feel it now. Not later. Now. Not because it's arrived in the physical, but because you've stopped arguing with its presence in the invisible. This is how you collapse the delay. You stop chasing fire, and you remember, you've been the flame all along. There's a subtle tension that forms in the body when we obsess over the details of manifestation. A tightness in the chest, a spinning in the mind, as if the path to your desire must be engineered with surgical precision, every step accounted for, every variable controlled. But in truth, that need to control the how is not power. It's fear disguised as responsibility. It's the old self trying to stay safe by directing the route, instead of trusting the destination. You were never meant to build the road. You were only meant to declare where you're going and walk in that direction with open hands. When you fixate on one possible path, you unknowingly block all others. You say to the universe, it must come through this job, this person, this route, and in doing so, you blind yourself to better, more aligned openings that don't fit your script, but match your vibration. The deeper truth is that control comes from the survival self. The part of you that learned early on that safety is in knowing. But creation doesn't respond to that version of you. It responds to the self that trusts beyond logic, the self that feels the wish fulfilled without needing to justify it. So you start to shift, from force to flow, from obsession to openness, and you begin speaking in a different language, one the universe understands. Not, how will this happen? But, I know it's already unfolding, even if I can't see it yet. That's not passivity, that's power. That's vibrational maturity. That's saying, I no longer need to control every turn because I trust where I'm being guided. Let the metaphor land. When you use a GPS, you don't pave the road yourself. You enter the destination and move. You allow detours. You listen when it says, recalculating. You don't argue with the path. You stay in alignment with the arrival. Manifestation works the same way. Your job is to hold the state, not micromanage the strategy. Your responsibility is not to know every step, but to stay energetically aligned with the end. And when that alignment is clear, the steps rise to meet you. This is the paradox. The more you relax into the outcome, the more pathways open. The more you loosen your grip, the more the current can carry you. Manifestation isn't about controlling reality. It's about consenting to it. It's about stepping into a field of trust so deep that even when nothing makes sense, you walk like it's already done. Because it is. There's a kind of hunger that masquerades as desire, but leaves you emptier the more you feed it. It's the rush that comes from imagining the result without embodying the state, the endless loop of craving, reaching, expecting, yet never settling into the fulfillment. This is the dopamine trap, the mind's reward system hijacked by a culture of urgency. And without realizing it, you become addicted to the anticipation of the thing, instead of the integration of it. Dopamine, biologically, is designed to push us toward rewards. But when overstimulated, by constant visualizations, endless affirmations, or watching others manifest on social media, it begins to collapse in on itself. You crave more but feel less. You want harder but believe softer. And slowly, your nervous system becomes disoriented. You think you're building momentum, but what you're really building is resistance to stillness. Because fulfillment doesn't come from the chase. It comes from embodiment, from presence, from savoring what's already here. The ones who manifest consistently aren't the ones who feel high all the time. They're the ones who've learned to feel deeply, who've trained their body to recognize the taste of peace before the results appear. They've shifted from performing desire to living it. This is the power of grounded satisfaction, not as a performance, but as a nervous system imprint. You wake up, you breathe, and without any evidence, you feel into your future as if it's already cradling you. Not because you're pretending, but because you're remembering. Your emotions are not accessories. They're anchors. They tether the invisible to the visible. And when you train your body to feel as though the desire is already fulfilled, you no longer chase motivation. You become magnetism. Imagine this. You've been so focused on the meal that's coming, you've missed the feast already laid at your feet, the warmth in your breath, the possibility in your hands, the knowing in your soul. When you stop and savor, not just with your mind but with your whole body, you activate a field that can't be faked. You turn off the loop. You return to wholeness. And from that place, manifestation is no longer a reaction to lack. It becomes an expression of fullness. You're not meant to survive on hope alone. You're meant to embody the experience, to let your body become the signal that says, I am already fulfilled. And the universe responds not to the wanting, but to that anchored, undeniable knowing. Before we move forward, pause with this thought. What if the delay you're experiencing isn't about time, but about the version of you you're still holding on to? Sometimes the answer isn't more action. It's a different assumption. If this resonates, check the pinned comment. There's something there that speaks directly to this shift you're ready for. Now, let's continue. Because the next insight will change how you speak to your future entirely. There was once a man who played his music late at night, not in front of crowds, but to empty rooms. His songs were filled with soul, but his words, they told another story. He would say to himself, I hope people discover me. I hope I can share this with the world. And though the sound was ready, his identity wasn't. He still saw himself as someone waiting for permission, someone hoping to be chosen. Until one night he changed a single phrase, not in his lyrics but in his inner dialogue. He stopped saying, I hope to be heard, and began saying, I am already sharing my sound with the world. And that wasn't just a sentence, it was a shift in being. He didn't wait for fans. He began performing in his living room as if the walls echoed with applause. He wrote songs as if the world already knew them. He walked as if the spotlight had already found him. And within 4 weeks the bookings began. Not because he chased them, but because he no longer stood in the way of receiving. This is the essence of identity-tethered manifestation. You don't wait for your outer world to grant you a new label. You live from it before it's confirmed. Not because you're lying to yourself, but because you're aligning with the self that already exists on the other side of the veil. And that self isn't trying. That self isn't waiting. That self is living, breathing, performing the life they've already claimed. You don't have to be a musician to feel this truth. You just have to be someone who's been playing the right melody while repeating the wrong message. If you keep saying, I hope it happens, you anchor your energy in delay. But if you say, it's happening now, not with arrogance, but with embodiment, something opens, something shifts. The universe stops waiting for your signal and begins responding to your state. He didn't manifest fame by becoming someone new. He became someone new by acting from the frequency of his desired reality. And the applause? It didn't start when the crowd arrived. It started when he began clapping for his own arrival. That's the secret. Don't wait for confirmation. Become it. Don't wait for applause. Be the echo. Because what you affirm with feeling is what returns with form. And the world cannot ignore a soul that already knows it's seen. There's a quiet fear that lives beneath many desires. Not fear of failure, but fear of expansion. It doesn't speak loudly. It whispers. It whispers that more might mean change, and that change might mean loss. And without realizing it, your nervous system begins to interpret your highest desires as threats, not blessings. You want to grow, to receive, to expand into your potential. But deep inside, there's a part of you that flinches. A part of you that still remembers what it felt like to outgrow love, to stretch beyond approval, to be punished for shining too brightly. This fear isn't logical. It's cellular. It lives in the body's memory. It's shaped by attachment patterns, by early experiences of not feeling safe to have, to want, to be. And so, when a new level of abundance tries to arrive, whether emotional, financial, or spiritual, the body resists. Not because it doesn't want it, but because it doesn't feel safe to hold it. You might say you want more. You might even visualize it. But if your system still associates desire with danger, then no amount of affirmation will override that frequency. Manifestation isn't just about excitement, it's about safety. If your desire doesn't feel safe to your nervous system, It won't feel sustainable to your life. This is why so many self-sabotage just before the breakthrough. Not because they're broken, but because their inner child is still guarding the threshold, afraid that having more will cost them love, belonging, or identity. You're not resisting growth. You're protecting yourself from the pain you once linked to growth. But that doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you're invited to soothe, to rewire, to gently teach your body that this time is different, that you are no longer that child, that love is not conditional, that you don't have to shrink to be safe. And as that realization settles, you begin to connect abundance with warmth, with breath, with groundedness. You stop chasing outcomes and begin building inner stability. You stop craving change and start feeling worthy of it. The truth is, you're not afraid of receiving. You're afraid of losing who you were without it. But you're allowed to let go of old identities that survived in scarcity. You're allowed to outgrow patterns that kept you small. And more importantly, you're allowed to feel safe in the bigness of your becoming. Not because it's easy, but because it's time. Let the fear be seen. Let the nervous system relax. Let your expansion feel like home. Not a threat, not a performance. Just the next natural breath in a life that's finally allowed to exhale. There's a subtle illusion that plays out in the minds of those who deeply desire change. It's the illusion that wanting something is the same as becoming it. That visualizing, affirming, or hoping intensely is enough to bring it closer. But the truth is more delicate, more demanding. Wanting, on its own, can become a loop, a cycle, a pattern that keeps the desire just out of reach. Because the energy of wanting often disguises the energy of postponement. Most people don't realize this. They live in the constant hum of almost healed, almost abundant, almost aligned. But almost is a spell. It traps the subconscious in a state of expectation instead of embodiment. And when the body lives in expectation, it broadcasts, "I'm not it yet." This is where waiting sneaks in, dressed as patience, disguised as spiritual maturity. But waiting, in its deeper form, is an announcement to the universe that fulfillment is still far away, that you are not ready, that life must hold back. Neville Goddard said, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not assume the timeline, not assume the steps, assume the state. Live from it, not toward it." Because the secret isn't in waiting for the change. The secret is becoming the version of you who no longer needs to wait. You're not here to gaze out the window, hoping to be chosen. You're here to open the package that's already on your doorstep, to touch the reality that already exists in your consciousness. And yet, we've been taught that fulfillment is a prize, that we must earn it, work for it, wait until the stars align. But fulfillment isn't a reward, it's a requirement. It's the emotional starting point, not the end goal. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. And being is not passive. It's an active frequency, a vibration you choose over and over, even when the outer world has not caught up. So what does this look like? It looks like drinking your morning coffee with the presence of someone who already feels peace. It looks like walking into a room with the posture of someone who knows they belong. It looks like speaking from the energy of wholeness, not hoping someone else will validate your worth. These moments are not theatrical. They are powerful, because they teach your nervous system to stop waiting. They train your cells to embody the future as a present reality. Desire is not an invitation to pause your life. It's a call to participate more fully in it, to align, to act, to feel, not with force but with inevitability. You've waited long enough, not for the thing, but for the permission to be the version of you who's no longer waiting. That permission has always been yours. Now is the moment to claim it. Before any transformation appears in the physical world, it first arrives in the inner atmosphere. Not as a thought, not even as a vision, but as a feeling. A pre-emotional state that speaks the language of certainty before the world has any evidence. It's the moment when your body says yes, even if your mind still questions. And that yes becomes the invitation, the signal, the magnet. Modern science is catching up to this ancient truth. Studies in mental rehearsal and performance psychology reveal something astonishing. When you include elevated emotion with a mental image, your brain begins to rewire as if the experience has already happened. Your nervous system starts rehearsing a new identity. The cells adapt, the chemistry shifts, and suddenly your biology becomes a preview of your future, not a repetition of your past. But this only happens when emotion leads, when feeling precedes form, when you stop asking when will it happen and start living as if it already has. Because the body doesn't follow logic, it follows feeling. And feeling is what makes the image real. You can repeat affirmations 1,000 times, but if your emotional tone remains rooted in lack, the signal you send is not desire, it's distance. That's why the sequence matters. Not image first, emotion first. Then the image becomes alive. Then it becomes believable. Then it begins to transform not just your thoughts, but your state. And your state is what creates your results. Neville Goddard never said to think your way into a new life. He said to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That assumption is not intellectual. It's visceral. It lives in your posture, your tone, your breath, your presence. So what does this look like in real life? It looks like setting aside a few minutes each day to generate the emotion you would feel if your desire were already here. Not waiting for something to trigger it, but choosing to embody it, to anchor it, to let your system bathe in it. Not for show, not for proof, but because that is who you are becoming. And becoming is not a future event. It's a current decision. Think of your desire as a film waiting to be projected, but the projector won't turn on unless the bulb is warm, and your emotion is the warmth, the light, the ignition. Without it, the image stays frozen. With it, the story unfolds. Not later, now. Not when the world changes, but when your state does. This is the invitation. Feel it before you see it, not as fantasy, but as frequency. Let the body remember what the soul already knows. You're not waiting for the future, you're practicing it, and that practice is what makes it real. There is a form of hesitation that wears the mask of wisdom, a pause that looks like patience, but is actually fear in disguise. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right sign. You say you're surrendering. You say the timing isn't right. But deep down, you know. You're not being guided by intuition. You're being held back by self-doubt dressed as spirituality. This is the spiritualized delay trap, where the fear of success hides beneath sacred language. It often sounds noble. I'm letting the universe decide. I'm just staying humble. I'll take action when I feel ready. But what if you're already ready, and you're using the concept of divine timing to avoid the responsibility of becoming? What if the very desire you keep deferring is the one that's asking to be lived now? The universe doesn't withhold. It responds. It mirrors your frequency, not your excuses. And when you delay from fear, you signal that your current identity is still safer than the version of you who has arrived. This is not a judgment. This is an invitation to honesty. To ask yourself, am I really waiting for alignment, or am I afraid of stepping into it? Because sometimes the next level of your life won't feel like a confirmation. It will feel like a disruption. And if you confuse comfort with alignment, you'll keep circling the same loop while calling it faith. Neville Goddard didn't teach us to wait for miracles. He taught us to embody them, to live as if the change has already occurred, to stop asking for permission and start acting from the fulfilled state. The bridge of incidents unfolds not because you waited long enough, but because you believed deeply enough. And belief, when embodied, becomes movement, not always big, not always visible, but vibrationally undeniable. So you begin to reverse the delay, not with force but with identity. You wake up and say, I am already the one who receives. You move through your day with the energy of, it is already done. And in those moments, the mirror begins to shift. The outer world catches up to the inner alignment, not because you pushed, but because you finally stopped hesitating. Remember this, you don't need divine permission to live what's already alive in you. You don't need a burning bush to become the fire. The signs are not outside you, they're encoded in your desire. And the only delay that exists is the one you keep agreeing to. The mirror won't smile first. It reflects. So become the reflection you've been waiting to see. Not tomorrow. Not when it's safer. Now. Because your becoming isn't a performance. It's a return to the version of you who no longer waits for worthiness, but lives it, quietly, powerfully, fully. There's a moment when the dream is clear, the desire is strong, the vision is rehearsed, and yet nothing changes. And in that stillness, frustration begins to grow. But the blockage isn't always in the dream. It's in the self who's dreaming it. The invisible tether holding many people back is not a lack of clarity. but a misalignment between their current identity and the reality they're calling in. This is identity lag, the energetic delay caused by trying to live a new future while wearing an old self-image. You want to manifest wealth, but you still see yourself as someone who struggles. You want love, but you still identify with the version of you that was overlooked. You want visibility, but a deeper part of you still believes it's safer to remain unseen. So even as you reach forward, you drag the past with you. You set intentions with one hand, but hold on to old definitions with the other, and the universe listens to the self you embody, not the words you speak. The Galatea effect teaches us that how we perceive ourselves becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you see yourself as limited, undeserving, or not yet ready, the world will reflect those assumptions, because the world is not responding to your potential, it's responding to your pattern. That's why affirmations only work when they're supported by self-concept. You can't affirm abundance while emotionally vibrating as someone who still fears being seen with nothing. This is the moment when the work turns inward, when you stop chasing the outcome and start upgrading the lens through which you see yourself. You begin asking, who am I becoming, and what must I release to become that now? Not as theory, as embodiment. Because you cannot walk into a new life with the posture of the old one. You must dress your energy for the version of you that already holds the reality you seek. It's not enough to dream bigger. You must also feel bigger, feel more true, feel more stable in your new self than you are loyal to the old. This isn't denial. It's design. You're not escaping who you were. You're elevating who you are. And that elevation begins when your identity catches up to your vision. You don't change the dream while keeping the same self-image. You change the self-image and the dream begins to match. You stop polishing the window and start changing the lens. Because if the lens is still clouded by the past, you'll always see limits, even in the middle of miracles. Let your identity become the invitation. Let your self-concept become the foundation. And watch how the world adjusts, not because you forced it to, but because you finally became someone it could no longer ignore. Desire is not a hope. It's a confirmation. If you feel it deeply, it's already alive in you. That's the first rule. Desire is divine. Trust it. The second, assume the wish fulfilled now, not when things change, now. Because it's not waiting that brings it closer. It's identity. The third rule, stay in the state, not the strategy. Manifestation isn't built by doing more. It's stabilized by being more, consistently. Fourth, emotion is the channel. It's not about thinking your way into abundance. It's about feeling it as if it's already yours. When emotion leads, the body begins to believe. And fifth, act from alignment, not effort. The version of you who already has it doesn't act out of lack. They move with certainty, from embodiment, not desperation. These rules are not steps to climb. They are mirrors to recognize. You don't apply them like a method. You remember them as your nature, because manifestation doesn't respond to the words you speak. It responds to the state you live in. And when that state becomes real, so does everything else. Desire is already the destination. Desire is not a sign that something is missing. It's the inner confirmation that you've already touched the experience in consciousness. When you feel a true longing, it's not calling you to strive, it's reminding you to align. Neville said that if you can imagine it and feel it as real, it is already yours. That's not a metaphor. That's a spiritual law. You don't achieve desires. You become them. Joe Dispenza's work echoes this truth. The body must be conditioned into the future, not through repetition but through emotional certainty. When your nervous system feels the future as now, the mind stops rehearsing the past. You stop waiting. You stop proving. You start living from the version of you that already holds what was once only imagined. You're not pursuing a goal. You're inhabiting a vibration. And the more you live from it, the more the world rearranges. Not because you forced it, but because you remembered. You're not here to earn your desires. You're here to receive them because you are the one who was given them first. That alone makes them real. Desire isn't a map. It's the magnetic pulse of something already within you. You're not trying to find it. You're learning to feel it and let it lead you home. And if something in you is still listening closely, you'll want to check the pinned comment. Trust that nudge. It's not random.